Welcome to the harsh lands of Gloomhaven, recruit. You think you have what it takes to become a mercenary out there on the edge of the world? We are paid to venture into the darkest forests of the region and to step into ancient crypts with the unmistakable stench of death and rotting flesh. Lovely places to earn a name for yourself. Be ready to face cutthroats, undead, fearsome tribes, and dreadful demons from other realms. You didn't find yourself as a mercenary without knowing how to crack a few skulls, did you? Everyone needs to eat. Whatever your reason for coming to Gloomhaven, out here on the edge of the world, that simple fact is never going to change. A mercenary can't fight on an empty stomach. So when Jexera, a Valrath woman wearing a red cloak and enough gold jewelry to keep you fed for a decade, approaches you in the Sleeping Lion and offers to pay you 10 gold coins to track down a thief and retrieve some stolen goods, well, seems like as good an excuse as any to sober up and start paying off your tab. This thief has taken some important documents, says the red-skinned merchant, her tail whipping about in agitation. I don't care what you do to him. Just bring back what is mine. Based on Jexera's description, it was easy enough to knock around a few alley thugs and get a location of the thieves' hideout. You don't find yourself as a mercenary way out in Gloomhaven without knowing how to crack a few skulls. So your target is the Black Barrow. Sounds like a lovely place. The hill is easy enough to find. A short journey past the new market gate, and you see it jutting out on the edge of the corpse wood, looking like a rat under a rug. Moving closer, you see the mound is formed from a black earth. Its small, overgrown entrance presents a worn set of stone stairs leading down into the darkness. As you descend, you gratefully notice light emanating from below. Unfortunately, the light is accompanied by the unmistakable stench of death. You contemplate what kind of thieves would make their camp in such a horrid place as you reach the bottom of the steps. Here, you find your answer. A rough group of cutthroats who don't seem to have taken very kindly to your sudden appearance. One in the back matches the description of your quarry. Take care of these unfortunates, your target says, backing out of the room. You can vaguely make out his silhouette as he retreats down a hallway and through a door to his left. Well, it's not every day we get people stupid enough to hand-deliver their valuables to us, grins one of the larger bandits, unsheathing a rusty blade. We'll be killing you now. Joke's on them. If you had any valuables, you probably wouldn't be down here in the first place. The abominations of necromantic power. Nothing more to do but lay them to rest, along with the remainder of this troublesome rabble. The dead, and you shudder to think what horrors still await you in the catacombs below. Corpses of your foes, and head deeper into the underground burial site. Guided by the muffled sounds of conversation, you find your way through the maze of crypts and burst into a small room full of hard-faced bandits, all with bows at the ready. They're clearly guarding something. You must be in the right place. You open the door to a large crypt littered with coffins. At the back stands your quarry. He fits the description. but there is something previously unnoticed in his eyes. A dark, otherworldly force. Who are you to think you can interrupt the work of the Gloom? A dark energy engulfs his hands as he speaks. I will show you what you are dealing with. Sifting through the carnage left by the battle, you find a cache at the back of the room, containing the scrolls you were hired to collect. You can't help but rifle through them a bit, but find that the writing upon them is in some unknown archaic language. One thing that does jump out at you, however, is a map of the northern countryside. A bend in the Still River is clearly marked as a point of interest. Contemplating whether you want to find out more about this so-called Gloom, you decide that the spot could be a point of interest for you as well. But that can be forgotten for the moment. You pack up the papers and head back to Gloomhaven to collect your reward. Meeting Jexera once again at the Sleeping Lion, you hand over the papers and are paid the agreed-upon amount. You know, she whispers to you softly under the bustle of the tavern, if you're interested, I may have another job for you. A tribe of Inox in the Dagger Forest has ransacked a couple of my caravans headed to the capital. I told the militia, but they do nothing, she spits. I can point you in the direction of their encampment. If you can make an example of them, I will pay you even more. She places a crude map of the forest on the table and stands up, her jewelry clinking with the movement. Come find me when it is done. You enter the Dagger Forest and begin to track down the encampment using Jexera's crude map. It is well hidden, but following the signs outlined on the parchment, you find a dense cluster of huts in a small clearing of the forest. All that's left is to head in and make that requested example. You push your way into the back cave, only to be faced with a half-dozen crying, screaming Inox children. You have little opportunity to contemplate the implications of this development, however, as you find yourself also staring down the bows of several Inox archers. Your only option is to continue fighting. Running through the forest, fleeing the smell of burning flesh, you now find more than enough opportunity to contemplate your actions. How your actions sit with you must be visible on your face as you meet once more with Jexera, this time in her manner. She hands you a sack of coins with a frown. They were thieves and murderers, she says blankly. They deserved what you gave them, and that is all I will say of the matter. I have one more task I would like you to perform. I require a diamond of considerable size for a customer, but I cannot find one anywhere in the city. There is a diamond mine, however, in the southern mountains, long since lost to the wilderness. I've heard reports that it is now overrun with vermlings, no doubt with some other more intelligent force behind them. If you can fight your way in and grab the biggest diamond you can find, I will give you a considerable reward. Now, leave me in peace. Jexera's two massive Inox bodyguards step forward, directing you to leave the manor. Outside, contemplating your new task, you hear a small voice behind you. She's not looking for profit, you know. You turn around to see a female quattrel step out of the alley beside Jexera's house. She's clad in dark leather armor and holds a conspicuous contraption full of whirring gears and topped with a conical metal piece connected to a tube. "RG's city guard," she says, introducing herself. "I know, I don't exactly look the part, but if anyone isn't what they appear to be, It's that Valrath you've been talking to. Sure, she's a merchant, but she's up to something far more sinister. She's been trying to overthrow the military in Gloomhaven for as long as I've been here, and we're all very curious about what her current machinations are. Look, you can go do her bidding like a good little puppy if you want. But if you'd rather actually help this town keep the peace and not get overrun by the wilds, I have a different idea. We'll get to the bottom of Jexera's plans and expose her for who she really is. The bandit commander's proclamations of a gloom do not sit well in your stomach as you search the bend in the still river. Something here holds an interest for these maniacs. You are somewhat surprised to find the ruins of an ancient crypt half covered in moss and ivy. The history of this place is old and dark. With no other information to go on, you head down into the depths. Whatever these supposed bandits are up to, you're determined to find out, even after you stumble across a large group of them, along with some reanimated dead at the bottom of the stairs. You've made a mistake coming here, one of the bandits hisses. You disagree. You are right where you want to be. Picture of pure elemental energy, enraged and demonic. It takes you a second to collect yourself. As if animating the dead wasn't enough for these. It's clear that you've disrupted some sort of ritual here. These elemental demons belong on an entirely different plane of existence, but the cultists have somehow managed to pull them through to this one. On the altar in the back room, there is a wealth of scribblings on these rituals. Not all of the writing is intelligible, but you get the sense that this crypt is a place of power, once used by an ancient civilization. The ancients tapped the power of the elements to enhance their own lives, and while their exact fate is beyond your knowledge, it clearly didn't end well. Among the scripts, you also find notes on a couple of other places of power in the area. One appears to have seen heavy use with the cult, and the other is marked as being overrun by vicious undead. It looks as though you have the opportunity to either disrupt more of their work, or get in their good graces by helping to clear a threat. Clear. These elemental cultists are distorting the fabric of the world and must be stopped. With that goal in mind, you follow the writings to an ancient crypt you believe to be the cult's base of operations. Steeling yourselves for combat, you batter through the rotted door and charge into the hall of the crypt. The sight before you is both wondrous and horrifying. A group of cultists is performing ritual incantations in front of a black, gaping hole in reality. They turn toward you and snarl, unsheathing their sacrificial daggers. Behind them, an inky darkness spills from the hole and coalesces into nightmarish forms full of teeth and claws. You know you must send these terrors of the elemental plane back into the void, but you are paralyzed with fear. With the cultists and their minions dead, it seems the Dark Rift is now dormant. It's no less disconcerting, however. You toss a rock at it, and the rock disappears into nothingness. You must admit that you wonder whether you could enter the rift yourself, and whether you would survive the trip to wherever the rock ended up. Alternatively, finding some way to close the rift is probably the more prudent decision. There's an Aether enchanter in Gloomhaven who may know more about this interplanar stuff. She's been known to ask for impossible favors before she helps anyone, though. What is life without a little bit of intrigue? The cultists have clearly marked this crypt as a spot of trouble for them. Perhaps clearing the place out will put you in their good graces. Or maybe you're just hoping to find a big stash of treasure, untouched by looters' hands. Once you arrive, the smell makes you regret your decision more than anything else. It's not the fact you've had it up to here with exploring old decrepit ruins. It's not the undead horrors shambling and moaning in the shadows. It's the smell. The smell of death and soullessness and rotting flesh. After the terrible shrieks and moans of the undead, the sound of someone clapping is at once foreign and alarming. Turning around, you see a hooded figure standing at the edge of your torchlight. You raise your weapon, but the grin on his silhouetted face isn't menacing in a way that calls for arms. It is menacing in a way you've never experienced before. "Well done, sirs," the figure lilts. My, but you do have a way about you, don't you? And you've certainly gotten our attention now, removing this troublesome crypt of its rogue undead element. We very much prefer our undead to be the controllable variety now, don't we? There is a long pause as the figure stares at you, still grinning. "Well, perhaps you'd be so kind as to do us another favor. After which we'll be mostly settled on the whole issue of you murdering some of my brethren." He stops grinning. "There is a necromancer in Gloomhaven. Been giving us a spot of trouble, sending mercenaries out to do her dirty work against us. Maybe you've met her. Kill Jaxera. Bring her head to our headquarters, and we'll see about letting you live." At the behest of your mysterious contact, you sneak towards Jaxera's warehouse under the cover of night. With any luck, you'll be able to uncover her plans and put a stop to them. Hoping to find the warehouse largely abandoned, you instead discover that it's teeming with undead. At least that gives you a better idea of her plans. She's clearly been using the necromantic scroll you delivered to raise the undead within the city walls, and now it's time to put them back to rest. Barreling through the gauntlet of storage shelves, traps, and undead, you finally make it to the back room of the warehouse, face to face with Jaxera and her 2 Inox bodyguards. "So you've decided to disrupt my plans instead of help me? You will regret that decision when I return to Gloomhaven with a legion of undead at my back." Moving with great speed, Jaxera turns and runs from you, flipping out of a window. You make a move to pursue her, but the 2 gargantuan Inox block your advance. With the battle behind you, you look out the window and see no evidence of the fleeing Valrath. You've stopped her plans for now, but after your brief conversation, it's clear that you need to hunt her down before she can make good on her threats. "She's beyond my network," the city guard RG says with a shrug when you ask her later. "We'd like to make sure she won't cause any more trouble, but she's fled the city and I'm not about to go traipsing through the wilds. You might have more luck with the Aether Enchanter in town," she suggests. "She can surely divine the coward's location for you, if you can get her to cooperate." An enchanter has been called for, so an enchanter must be found. Following reports of an Aether in the Boiler District, you find yourself standing before an abandoned and decrepit tavern, the Crooked Bone. Opening the door, the inside looks exactly as the outside advertised. Spiderwebs, splintered stools, and dusty, broken glass. Stepping past the threshold, a translucent female suddenly appears before you. "Why have you come to this place, mercenaries? Your presence is unwanted, and you're disrupting my research." You quickly explain why you have come, and the woman's frown deepens. "Oh, look at the Aether woman. She can fulfill all our wishes. All she has to do is wave her hands and our wildest dreams will come true." She sighs in frustration, and actually does wave her hands. "Leave me in peace." You don't move. She stares. "Well, instead of disrupting, then maybe you could help. Scratch my back, maybe I'll scratch yours. That's how these things work, right?" The woman turns and walks towards a destroyed set of stairs, but after a few steps, she fades away entirely. "I need an orb from the frozen hollow in the Copperneck Mountains." The woman's voice comes from directly in front of you, as if she hadn't moved at all. "Bring it back to me, and I may help you." A map drops at your feet. My name is Hale, by the way. Do not come back without the orb. The map is easy to follow. Deep in the Copperneck Mountains, obscured by snowdrifts, you find the opening to a dark, narrow cave. The wolf tracks around the entrance are troubling, but with a firm resolve, you enter. With the last of your adversaries dead, you approach the back of the chamber, where a small blue sphere floats above the floor. You slowly reach out your hand and find the orb cold to the touch. With a firm grip on it, the temperature is almost unbearable, but you quickly stash it into your pack and make your way back to the crooked bone. With the last of your adversaries dead, you approach the back of the chamber, where a small blue sphere floats above the floor. You slowly reach out your hand and find the orb cold to the touch. With a firm grip on it, the temperature is almost unbearable, but you quickly stash it into your pack and make your way back to the crooked bone. You enter the abandoned tavern and call out to Hale. With no response, you wander around, observing the chaotic mess around you. You wonder how she gets any work done in this environment. As you approach the counter, Hale appears before you, holding the orb. Very interesting. She doesn't seem to notice you at all. A rift in our plane, somehow contained within a spherical barrier. Good thing you didn't break this on your way back. You easily could have been sucked into a realm of pure frost and been frozen solid before you had time to breathe. Or something worse could have happened. It's just so confounding. Who would have the power to do this? Hale takes a step to the left and disappears again. You wait for what feels like hours, refusing to sit on the few stools that haven't yet fallen apart. You call out occasionally, but receive no response. Oh, you're still here. You turn around to see Hale in the middle of the room. Good. I'd like to experiment on you if it's all right. She reaches out to you and you stumble backward, falling over a table that splinters into hundreds of pieces. Oh, don't be a baby about it. I'm pretty sure it will end well. Hale explains that she wants to try to bring forth raw power from another plane and contain it in a small orb that could give enhanced powers to anyone possessing it. The containment process, however, requires a lot of gold metal. Now that you have helped me in my endeavors, I suppose I should return the favor, Hale sighs. So, what was it exactly that you wanted? You gingerly step into the entryway of the crooked bone, careful to avoid the broken glass, nails, and other treacherous things. You glance around the room and see nothing but the usual detritus. Before you can call out to Hale, though, an explosion from an upper room violently shakes the entire building. Damn it all to the abyss! Hale's disembodied voice yells out. I set up my work in the most out-of-the-way, uninviting, decrepit little hovel, and grand idiots still manage to stumble in and disrupt my research. The translucent woman suddenly appears before you. You do know that your mere presence in this building changes the flow of the ether, causing unanticipated currents that produce catastrophic consequences, right? I mean, how could you not know that? Hale closes her eyes and begins to take deep breaths, fading a little out of view with each exhale. Yes, I did agree to help you. I had hoped the memory was a nightmare of some kind, but it wasn't, so that can't be helped now. The least you can do in return, however, is to warn me before you cross the threshold. She gives you an icy stare. So, what do you want anyway? Let's make this quick. You explain to her the situation with Jexera and the need to locate where she is hiding. Ah, a simple scrying matter. Well, then we're in luck, Hale begins. Or rather, I'm in luck. The main component I would need for such a task is beetroot, and I ran out of it just last week. I was going to gather more, but now I can just send you out to get it instead. Everyone wins. except those infernal forest imps who terrorize my usual gathering spot. I hope quite a few of them will end up dead. A small map drops in your hand, and with a wave of Hale's arms, a sudden, powerful force pushes you out of the door. Remember, ring the bell when you come back, and wait 47 seconds before entering the door. The place is teeming with life. Lush, massive plants, as well as a number of hostile animals and imps. You prepare for their attack. You pull up the last bush and hack away at its root. The grotto is still alive with many hostile creatures, but with your packs now full of bite root, you make a quick retreat, eventually finding your way to the stone road and back to Gloomhaven and the Crooked Bone. You ring the bell and wait a good minute before entering the slanted doorway. There's no sign of Hale, so you call out and wait for her. It takes much longer than you'd like. When she finally does appear on the other side of the ruined bar counter, she seems genuinely surprised to see you. "Oh, is that bite root you have there?" "Huh, imagine that. I was just thinking about going to get some, seeing as I just ran out last week." You stare at one another in confusion. "Oh, I sent you to get that, didn't I?" Hale scratches her head. "Right, scrying. I remember now. Hand over the root." You give her the packs full of bite root. "What were the details again?" "Jexera. Valrath woman, yay high. Merchant dabbling in necromancy. Wears a red cape and lots of gold jewelry. Shouldn't be too hard." Hale disappears with the root, and you begin to hear a faint banging coming from the floor above you. Eventually, Hale appears before you holding a parchment covered in a thick, gooey bite root paste. "There you go. Just follow that, and you should find your way to where she's hiding." You hesitantly take the map. "I could have cleaned off the paste, but I thought it added a bit of charm." And then it stops. You open your eyes to see your feet are on solid ground, but around you whirls strange elemental energies, fire mixing with ice in torrential power. You catch your breath and glance back, relieved to see a void of darkness similar to the one that brought you to this place. The relief is short-lived, however. A booming voice fills the crackling air. "Who are you to slay my servants and invade my realm? This affront will not go unpunished." Before you, the energies in the air begin to form vague demonic shapes. To go deeper into this unearthly place, you must fight your way through. As the final demon in sight screams and dissipates into the wind, you fall to your knees, thankful that the assault has stopped. "Very interesting." The voice appears deep inside your head, clawing at your brain with its words. "You interlopers are unexpectedly powerful. I could certainly use your expertise to find something in your own plane." The red rock below you rumbles and cracks, and a fiery fissure opens at your feet. "I open my realm to you. Come, let me speak to you face to face." Having already made one leap of faith this day, you decide there's no harm in making another. The heat grows more intense as you descend, and scalding air billows up from below, slowing your fall. You land quite safely in what appears to be an underground temple. Before you stands a monstrous creature, horned and terrifying, holding a trident and standing on two hooved legs. The voice still resonates from inside your head. "Brave and foolish. You should serve me well. There is an artifact of great power located in a forgotten temple along the Serpent's Kiss River. You can retrieve it for me, or you can die here and now. Your road has led you here, to the Temple of the Elements, in search of an ancient artifact. It apparently holds great power, but anything more than that is very foggy at this point. You enter the decaying stone structure to see for yourself what all the fuss is about. As you step inside, your eye catches signs of recent visitors, a broken twig, footprints in the dust. You approach the main chamber and ready your weapons as a group of hooded figures emerge from the shadows. "You're too late, fools," one of the cultists announces. "We control this temple now, and all its power serves us." Roughly the size of a skull. "The artifact is ours, and it has made our minions more powerful than ever." The speaking cultist laughs. "You cannot hope to stop what is coming. Even if you strike us down, the gloom will bring forth your end." The cultists raise their hands, and a barrier surrounds the artifact. With the altars smashed, the demons vanish, and the protective barrier around the artifact finally dissipates. You approach the center of the temple and reach out for the vessel, but stop short. You feel a powerful darkness emanating from the thing, and behind that, a deep sadness. The artifact has been corrupted, and it seems to almost be cognizant of that fact. All of these feelings flash in your mind as a warning. It could be used for great evil, but would you fight for that evil or against it? After some effort, you use a thick cloth to get the vessel into your bag. Perhaps it would be best to bring it to an enchanter rather than mess with it yourself. You reach out to some of your contacts concerning Jexera's location, and end up with an odd bit of information from the Sanctuary of the Great Oak. They say there is a temple high in the Watcher Mountains, dedicated to some unseen force that can answer any questions asked of it. Visitors must survive the journey and the trials that await in the temple first, however. It is a tradition among the Order of the Great Oak to send its members on a pilgrimage to this temple, where faced with the prospect of any knowledge they desire, they decline to ask a question, putting all their trust in the Great Oak instead. The sanctuary provides you with some basic directions, and you head off. While your path is clear, the way is anything but easy. You risk falling to your death numerous times as you scale the cliff up to the temple. Braving the harsh winds and loose rocks, you finally reach the top and head through the threshold into a large open foyer. "I am afraid I cannot accept visitors at this time," a disembodied voice booms through the room. "Please come back in 12 years. I may be able to accommodate you then." Before you can object, a group of massive stone constructs materialize before you. "Head to ask the questions in the first place." You ready your weapons. There's no way you're going to climb back down that cliff with nothing to show for it. It's materialized before your eyes. Flying red lizards, wailing spirits, and great terrifying bears that don't seem at all happy to have been suddenly transported here. As the last of the creatures falls, the temple becomes eerily silent. You call out, but the strange voice offers no response. You begin banging the walls with your weapons and yelling even louder, making it clear that you will not leave without answers. "Enough!" The power of the voice shakes the ground. "I could easily kill you, you know, but normally a threat is enough to send you pathetic lesser beings scrambling. I don't necessarily like murder, however, so I will make you a deal. I will answer a single question for you, and then you will leave this place without further incident and never return. So what would you like? Great power? Great wealth? Or is the location of the necromancer you are hunting really that important to you? Valley deep in the Copperneck Mountains, this shrine is not easily found or accessible. But luckily, you know the way. The shrine lies on the edge of a giant frozen lake, surrounded by ancient, towering trees. Adorning the structure's stone face are innumerable symbols of power and strength, but you cannot determine whether the shrine was dedicated to some specific entity, or simply to the general concept of strength. You enter through the large stone doors, hoping to find something within that increases your own power. As you walk along the entryway, you see a number of runic inscriptions carved into the walls. They're hard to make out, but you believe they profess an ideology of strength begets strength. In order to increase one's own strength, one must first demonstrate strength. You open the next set of doors and come face to face with that ideology in practice. A powerful savas materializes in front of you and wordlessly begins to channel a destructive force in your direction. You will need to prove yourself to get at whatever is in this temple. You rush forward and take hold of the sigil of strength lying on a pedestal in the inner chamber. Immediately, an overwhelming power surges through you, and all of your foes disappear as quickly as they had appeared. You feel a great strength welling up inside you. For an instant, your vision goes dark, and you see glimpses of a strange runic alphabet. The power dissipates and your vision returns, but before you can write down the symbols, they fade from memory.